Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. We are back with another episode of Wilson Time.
Episode
And
2.
classic fashion, too. We are filming this, almost an hour and a half before kickoff starts. But we wanted to
Perfect.
try to we want to try to get an episode out before it's the first game tonight. Super pumped that the season's starting and we actually get to see our players go out there and kick each other's ass.
Yeah, no, super juicy matchup at the beginning of the year. So just really excited about Rams versus Bills tonight, especially for everybody that's got players involved. There's a lot of big hitters tonight, so it should be fun.
Yeah, a lot of fireworks gonna be happening. Really hoping that Josh Allen just shits the bed tonight. Please, Rams defense, do something for me. A couple picks would be cool. I
Yeah,
take
I
that.
was I was listening to something today talking about defenses against the Bills last year, and there was only like 5 games last year where teams scored 5 or more points defensively against the Bills. So
Blue
Rams
ball,
defense
baby.
might not be the best bet. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it might be a little tough out there for anybody starting the Rams defense. So I don't really know who has them, but I think the Rams defense is being started. Could be tough.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Well, regardless, gonna be a juicy matchup. Great way to kick off the season. And to follow that up from the epic draft weekend we had. Man, what a time that was. Really good to see everybody. It's always nice, to catch up, see you guys are doing. Sounds like everybody's doing pretty good. So that's always nice to hear. And man, a lot of memories made. That was a fun draft weekend, a lot of activities. I think that was like most like activities that we've done at a draft. It seemed like, outside just like sitting inside of a hot tub. But don't get me wrong, I love that tub. There was a lot of discussion about tubs, but it was very fun just like having you down there pretty much doing the game that we were doing, comparing the teams
Hmm.
and the fire, playing pool, of course, Smash. I mean, it was just all a good time.
Most definitely. It was the golf was awesome, even though
Yeah.
a lot of some of us woke up and were feeling pretty rough the next morning and everything. But once you got out there, I think getting COD in that horse costume on the first hole got everybody a little riled up, and it ended up being a good time. I know a lot of first timers out there playing golf too. It was a good time. I say scramble, never played it before, but that was
Yeah.
something that I will not forget. Is even though we got destroyed and there wasn't much competition, I think everybody had a good time and everybody was out there at least competing. So that was fun. It was more memorable, and I think doing
Well,
the golfing thing every year might be a thing. Who knows?
yeah, if we can make it happen, more than down to do it. I think just having like an activity like that and like I mean, pretty much all of us enjoy golf and the competitive nature of it too, like throwing some draft dollars on there. I was a little hesitant at first, but um,
Yeah, for sure.
but overall,
No,
yeah,
great,
it's solid.
great draft weekend. Great draft weekend. I think everybody had a good time. Everybody was super involved, so that was fun. It's always nice to know there's no outliers or anything like that during the draft. No, there wasn't a lot of drama or anything like that either. So it was just having a good time. Everybody, all the boys hanging out, making sure everything was going smooth. Shout out to obviously everybody that was cooking and everything like that. We all did a really good job of cleaning up the house. So we're making
Mhm.
progress. We're making progress.
Definitely making progress, and I would say, the biggest thing about these drafts, right, is like the camaraderie that we build each time that we do it. And so funny because like every time I try, when I get back from these draft weekends, people will ask us like, how was it? Did you guys have a good time? It's like, oh yeah, we always have a good time. But I don't think people can fully grasp like what it's actually like unless you're there. Like the bonds that we build and just the memories that we make. And again, it's just like a testament to our league how special it is that we can continue to do this every single year and be able to, fly in from all over the country and make it happen each time. So, and also shout out to COD too. Just want to throw that out there. I know we gave you kudos already for how you handled your punishments, but man, good sport, dude. Waxing, that's like a whole nother level. There's one thing to embarrassment, but that was pure pain. and like you literally bleeding on your chest. I was rewatching the video of our waxing ceremony there. I'm gonna try to figure out. It's a 21-minute long video, so I'm trying to figure out how to get that out so we can put it up on the website or something. But it just looked brutal. So shout out to you, COD. You did well on that, even though it was most deserved.
Yeah, I will lather you in oil any day, COD, just to make sure that you don't have any as little mini ingrown hairs as possible, you know. But there's probably going to be some. However, I will rub that oil on you any day. I think,
um,
yeah, I think it was a success, but let's get into talking about, obviously, let's start a little bit more talking about the draft and how
yeah.
everything went down and what we kind of saw, what we liked, we didn't like. You know, it's obviously our opinions. However, we were there, and I think some people will, resonate with these opinions that we have. And then also after that, we'll get into weekly matchups for week number one.
Oh yeah, we're back into it full swing. Um, yeah, I mean, I thought the draft was pretty interesting. I thought it was definitely different than the last few auction drafts that we've had. It just seems like, some of the players, especially like the QBs, was a weird thing. QBs weren't going as much as we've seen in years past, and I know like some of the QBs got thrown out early, so I don't know if it was just people were hesitant to bid them up because you wanted to wait till you got to that running back or wide receiver, like Lamar Jackson going for 14. I got Joe Burrow for 11. So I kind of just look at him like, man, I was kicking myself in the butt because I'm like, spend $3 extra or $2 extra, and I guess it was $13, right? Yeah, $2 extra,
Yeah, it
and
was. Yeah.
yeah, and be able to get Lamar. And I know there was a little bit of chatter about it afterwards that there was kind of this growing notion that people were more concerned about how like what other people were bidding instead of just
Mhm.
focusing on what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I know I definitely got caught up in that a little bit. And it was just like interesting going through the draft, like when we first started going. And it was like trying to put myself in a check to make sure that I was still sticking to my plan. And, I remember very vividly the CD Lamb thing was going down between Jaden and I. And man, I wanted CD Lamb so bad. And like we were starting to bid up there. I mean, once we got in the 40s, it was like I had to like mentally check myself and be like, okay, I need to like actually see what's happening right now. Like this is a lot for CD,
Hmm.
and so ultimately just took my foot off the gas pedal and Jaden ends up with them. But
Well, I think to
um
that point, there's two different sides to it, right? There's one where like maybe somebody's trying to stack like a QB wide receiver combo or something like that, where you're bidding up that wide receiver so they can't have a stack. And then there's also the aspects of being like, oh, you really want a player, so you're going to bid them up. I could say for like Steven and I, when we were talking about like Tom Brady, and he went for obviously $17. I was just bidding him up because I think Tom Brady will have a good season, but at the same time, I knew Calvin wasn't going to budge on it. So why not have Calvin spend a little bit more
yeah,
for Tom Brady than what anybody's anticipating? Like second highest draft, second most dollars for Tom Brady, when there's a lot of other people out there that you could look at and be like, oh yeah, I could get Lamar Jackson for 13 or Kyler Murray, Herbert Hurts for 15.
yeah,
Yet we have Tom Brady going for 17.
yeah. No, I'm totally with you on that. I think again, we talked about this in the first episode, but like the evolution of our league, right? In each year that we do these auction drafts, we are coming up with like new strategies, or we're still trying to implement the same strategies before. And I think people are a little more cognizant about, when a player's getting bid up, but at the same time, for instance, like I noticed that Pate still had a bunch of money going into the later rounds. And, this are like the rounds that you're looking to get your sleepers, or you're trying to get those like players that have that potential to break out, or, like for a keeper. But so I was throwing out smoke screens. I was throwing out players that I knew that I didn't want to have any part of. I wasn't going to bid anything on them pretty much. And I would,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd throw them out in the hopes that somebody else would bid on them, or I would bid a little bit on them. And, Tron didn't bite on any of it. And so,
Yeah.
it's like he kept his money. And so I think it was like especially in those first couple rounds, it felt like there was a lot of I want to say pressure, but everybody was like hyped up like crazy. I mean, I remember after
Mhm.
that first, I think we were trying to get through that first round, and it's like maybe it was right after we took that break, and I had to walk outside and like take a breath. I was like, dude, I am like my blood pressure was through the roof, my heart was pumping. I was like, holy crap,
Mhm.
man! Like I need to chill out for a second and go
Yeah,
back
I was
into
just
it.
like trying to like zone in. Like everybody got up, walked around, and I just thought to myself, I was like, I just need to look at what's happening right now and understand like, all right, the first round's over. Now, we put a bunch of bids in here, people are spending a lot of money. I need to figure out what I'm actually trying to do. It
Yeah,
was, yeah, I say the first round always, like we were all talking about. Once Jonathan Taylor went off the board, everybody was like, all right,
we're in it.
now we're doing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. I mean, you know, I remember Pitt saying that he was like more worked up than we were. There was like we were almost like not like dead quiet, but we were so everybody was just trying to like walk in, get zeroed in on the draft there and analyzing everything. And I mean, it's like we were explaining to Pitts, like, man, you have to do that. If you're sitting there like paying attention to all the other noise and stuff, then you start losing sight. And especially with this whole auction thing that we've been doing, it's like you really got to be on your stuff to make sure that like you're still sticking to your game plan. And
Well, I feel like everybody must have been feeling pretty good about their game plan and everything that was going on because I know in years past, somebody gets a player at a certain price and in the middle of the round after the guy gets that player, it's like, oh man, that was a really good pickup. I think we only really said that a couple of times about a couple of players. I think Lamar Jackson was like the only one that really got a lot of attention with that because we were like, huh, could have got him for $13 or whatever. So, but everybody kind of kept it at a minimum with it. And so I feel like maybe everybody felt pretty good about what their game plan was going in. And then also maybe it was going their way, maybe it wasn't. There was a lot less chatter when it came to being like, oh, yeah, that's a really good pick. Everybody kept that kind of to themselves to make sure that person didn't feel like I'm drafting really good. So everybody
yeah,
was trying to keep it as like condensed as possible when it came to like showing love at certain players.
showing love, or on the opposite end, I don't feel like a lot of people are like shitting on picks too. Um,
Hmm.
I think that's also I mean, I know the way I kind of saw it was I didn't want to say too much because I didn't want to. It's almost like poker. I didn't want to like show my hand in a sense. I want
Yeah.
people to be able to gauge what kind of value I had on players. But
Hmm.
just a couple other things with that too. I mean, some of the new members, Cleaner, Diz. I mean, they'll probably this is their first draft, so they did pretty well. But
Hmm.
the one thing that I was just like really confused about through and like even some of our season members is like there's so many two QB teams out there. Like people draft these QBs, and I just didn't understand that. I'm like, I talked to Jesse about why he drafted Aaron Rodgers. He's like, oh, it's just sometimes I like to throw money out there for fun. I'm like, yeah, not that like not hating on it, but it's like, well, what if you end up with that player like you did? You could take that
Hmm.
four extra dollars. A dollar can make a difference, right? When you're say bidding on like a premium running back or wide receiver or something. Um,
Yeah.
or like Brian spending what $20 on both Trey Lance and Justin Fields. Like, I get it. You're trying to ensure that you're going to get like you're pretty much banking on that one of them's going to break out, right? And you just want to make sure you walk in on both of them. But
I think
um,
I think the problem with it is for me is just that quarterbacks are hard to trade. It's very few times you can be able to
yeah,
trade a quarterback because most people will find that one quarterback that they want. And quarterbacks are pretty fruitful in their own sense, right? Like you have different tiers of quarterbacks, but quarterbacks are really like there's not too many of them that are going to be rostered that are really subpar, you know? And so kind of, like Nut was talking about with his was you don't want to get stuck in trying to choose one or the other every single week. Because
yeah,
at that point, right, for one, they're taking up a roster spot. And for two, being able to trade them, it's going to be pretty hard. And then, for three, right, like you're saying, you spent a decent amount of money, in like Scheimer's case, right, like $20, like you could have taken, one of the top five QBs, the Herberts, the Murrays, things like that, and then you could use that rest towards like more like, you know, positional players that would be more solidified. So like in Jesse's sense, right? Like he finished the draft with like $5 extra, but then also spent $6 on Rodgers. And then if you take like Allen Lazard's 12, like right there, you're looking at $23. Could have like implemented that into some way, getting like another running back because like right now he has James Robinson as his running back too. You
Yeah.
could have taken that, right? And then you could have got like a Kareem Hunt for like 19 or Mondre Stevenson for 19, even like a Miles Sanders for 16. And you still could have, sprinkled in a couple more position players when we're getting to the later ends because, even myself, I'm kicking myself over. I had $2 left over at the end of the draft. And I'm like, man,
Same.
what could, right? Like, what could I have used that for during the draft? Was I just mismanaging my money or did I get players for cheaper than I thought I would? Right.
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm totally with you. And from my own personal experience, was a little bit different for me this year. And I think this also applies to other people that have kind of had this where it's like going from one draft where you have, nearly the least amount of money you could possibly have to almost having the most amount of money. It's like, yeah, you have all year to prepare for it. But once you actually get in there, and the juices start flowing through the draft there, I was almost, it's like, even though I had all this money, I was kind of like hesitant to spend it towards the beginning in those first couple of rounds. Like I was trying to like hold on to it for some reason. And I don't know. I think it's just like the growing pains that we're still learning from auction drafting is like, and the one instance I could really think of too is like the whole JD McKissick thing. Nut pointed that out in the pod. It's like, why is there a bidding war and you spend $8 on JD McKissick? And it's like, yeah, why did that happen? It's just like for me personally, to answer Nut's question on that, it's like I think it's just because I realized I still had some money left over. And I'm like, well, screw it, I need to spend it. So I mean, it's not like I'm completely in love with JD McKissick, but I was just like, yeah, I need to spend it. So I'm just gonna use it right now. And
mhm,
instead of just doing it earlier on. But
yeah.
was there any picks that you particularly liked or didn't like?
The picks that I did like, obviously, the first one is, Lamar going for $13. Like you're getting him less than, Murray's, the Hurts, and the Herberts and everything, which rightfully so. Like, right, those players are still like the same caliber as Lamar Jackson, but we know what Lamar Jackson can do, right? He's been MVP. He's been a QB1 before, like ranked number one overall QB wise, just based off of his speed and everything. And so that was like one that like obviously stood out in my mind. And it was also the placeholder set for like, oh, this is the first QB off the board. He went for $13. I spent $14 on Russell Wilson. I wasn't really excited about that. Like, I like Russell Wilson. I think he's gonna do great. But if I could have got like a Jalen Hurts or something like that for 15 or like a Lamar Jackson for 13, I would have liked that a little bit more. So I think like that was a good one by Dobby. And then there was a couple other that I thought about, like so like COD picking up Chubb for $43. Like I think that's a great value for somebody that's obviously the top hog on that team. And you have Kareem Hunt who's coming off of you know, trying to restructure his deal and get re-signed and everything like that. And trying to, he held himself out of a lot of the off-season workouts just because of that reason. So you get like probably the best pure runner for $43. And we're not playing PPR. So right, we're not factoring in like these other players that could be closer to Chubb because of their catching abilities. Like this man, he was number 7 running back last year. And then, you got players like, Aaron Jones going for 51, $8 more, who finished number 13 last year. And then you got like Dalvin Cook going for 61 and he finished, six, he was like number 16. Obviously he missed a couple games last year, but just getting them at that value, $8 less than one and $10 less than the other, I think that's just a really good value in the sense that, you know, they're not going to have like a lot of throwing ability on that team. Jacoby Brissett's not going to go out there and have 40 pass attempts a game, like that guy could easily, and he's done it year after year, be a top, top 6, top 7 running back. And I think getting him for 43 is just a great value for that. just compared to some of the other people that were right next to him in the rankings and how much they went for.
No, totally. And what about anything you didn't like?
Like, to be honest, the biggest thing that I didn't like was just the sheer amount of money that was being spent on QBs. Like, there was players that you expect, like the Patrick Mahomes and like the Kyler Murrays of the world, to be going for over $20, right? Justin
Mhm.
Herbert easily over $20,
Yeah.
and it wasn't being spent. But then there was the people like Diz, who's taking like two QBs for $17, or Scheimer's taking two for 20, and then Jesse, like you said, speaking to that point, just like you already have Josh Allen, why even get Aaron Rodgers? Obviously, you got Alexander Madison for him, but you just could have kept your $6 for Rodgers and got Madison for half that price in the regular draft, and then you have three extra dollars left over. You could have easily filled out a little bit more of your positional players with it. So I think it was just it was like the lack of money spent on the top tier QBs, and then the money spent on QBs that like kind of dropped off towards the end there, like these people that are going to be like around QB 10, QB 12, right? Like
Mhm.
there was just more money spent on those players and running that risk of being like, oh, I'm going to choose one QB one week and maybe play the other QB the other week.
Yeah. No. Again, the whole two QB thing, it was so strange to me because again, you're just kind of tossing out money for a position that you don't need to fill if you already got your quarterback, and you could reallocate that money to like, again, more of the premium positions. But yeah, for me, total agreements with the Lamar one, $13, and I think it was right after that Gobby got that pick. I was like, man, good job on that. And it was also kind of a turning point for us. I think it was like Gobby set the market price on the QBs there, and it kind of guided us through the rest of it. But yeah, I think it's great value on him. And I also liked Jaden's Amon-Ra St. Brown pick for $9. Maybe a little bit of biases in there because
Was it at 19?
no, it was 9.
It was $9.
$9. And
What?
standard, let me pull it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure he cracked top 25 at least. Let's see. Yeah, in standard leagues, he finished as wide receiver number 23 last year. So,
Yeah,
oh
well,
no, you're right.
no,
It was $19. Never mind. Excuse me.
okay. I was gonna say, because I was like, man, if you went for $9, I love me some Amon Ra. And towards the end of the year last year, I think it was like the final six games or something like that. The dude was averaging over 8 targets a game. Like
Yeah.
that's
Well,
just
regardless,
it's a lot more than most.
even with 19, you know, I actually Amon-Ra was on my radar. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've been talking about the DJ Moore thing, but I'd rather have spent 19 and got Amon-Ra. And I mean, I know he plays for the shitty Lions with Jared Goff, but dude,
You got to throw it to somebody.
massive target share. And TJ Hawkinson is good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think I think he's like overrated in a sense. And I think also he's a little bit injury prone too. So, I mean, again, the ball's got to go somewhere there. Amon-Ra was getting a ton of targets last year, and he's like just a good athlete. He's a good wide receiver. So I like
Well,
that
yeah,
one.
I think that I think
And
that I think the Lions will be decent this year offensively. Like
yeah,
defensively, I don't think much, but I think Jared Goff can at least get him the ball. He was last year, so why wouldn't that translate into this year?
no, absolutely. And then really, this is kind of like a string of picks, but I really liked what Trone did with a lot of his sleeper and like potential breakout players. But he went on a run there to get Isaiah Pacheco, Elijah Moore, Drake London, and Sky Moore. And, like I was talking about earlier, Trump was holding on to his money. And I know he had to get like a QB, but he walked up a lot of those kind of like hype players, which I know I'm a
Mm,
fan of. I was talking to Brian about it, like Brian's a fan of. And so I thought Trent did a pretty good job for, the little amount of money that he had going into the draft to be able to string together a lot of those hype guys. Because normally, like those hype guys, the other people that have more money starting off the draft, like you figure that's going to go that way. But Trent played it out pretty good because I mean he was able to fill out his roster and then still capture a lot of these hype guys. So really like that. The
Well, I think for him, right? Like he's not keeping DeAndre next year. Like that,
right,
that's going to get a hefty price, going into it. So, why not? If you have, some of the least amount of money in the league, why not go for some big name players that might be worth a keeper value? Like we saw Jamar Chase last year, right?
yeah,
Like you pick him up and you can easily keep him next year. Some of those players he'll keep for under, 15, under $10 and stuff like that. That could be a real steal if they actually break out, and that's what they end up doing. Those are there's some high value names there. So it's not like you use them on people that who knows, maybe they'll be good. Like I got Garrett Wilson, like really good coming out of college and everything like that. And my thought process was like, well, maybe I could keep him for next year, depending on how like T Higgins works out. But like for Trone, he'll have an option for 3, 4 players next year that he could possibly keep. So it's not the
yeah.
worst strategy in the world.
No, totally. Some of the picks I didn't like though. Sorry, Diz. I feel like I'm always like shitting on his team here, but I didn't like the DK Metcalf one for $19. I like DK Metcalf the player, but like last year, what he finished as number 11, which is good. Obviously that's good, but that's also with Russell Wilson throwing the ball. It kind of seems like DK's kind of fallen off a little bit, just
Oh yeah, for sure.
from the eyeball perspective. And then now he's going to be a part of arguably the worst offense in the league. And so I just, if I'm looking at it, okay, again, you go back to Amon-Ra. Yeah, it's the Lions, but I think the Lions were as shitty as they could be. I think that they're going to be on the more the up and coming now. So like they're in the rebuild, but at least they're getting traction to like start becoming a better team. And I'm definitely taking Jared Goff over Geno Smith. No question about that.
Well,
So
yeah, and if you look at it, right, like one out of DK's last 8 games, so a couple games sprinkled in there with Russell Wilson, but the last 8 weeks, there's only one game where he had over 11 fantasy points.
yeah,
So if you look at it, the majority of and weeks 1 through well, we're looking 1 through 8, he only missed out on double digits twice.
yeah,
So you saw what's going to happen with Geno Smith. $19 isn't a whole lot, but I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have, like, if we compare the two, right? I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have much higher target share on a more pass happy offense with Jared Goff than if you have Geno Smith. Like, Geno Smith averages 185 yards per game in his career. Like, it's just not something that's fruitful. And you still have Tyler Lockett there. You have Noah Fant, who used to be, you know, considered a very valuable tight end. So like even if DK gets a lot of the target share, there's still other people there, and there's just not a lot of yards to go around. So you're really banking on him just getting a bunch of touchdowns. But we know what DK Metcalf is. He's literally just run that baby down the field and just throw
yeah.
it up there, and he's going to get it. So
Mhm.
you're just getting
It's
it's
all
just
about the
really
play.
limited.
No,
Yeah, like
absolutely.
DK was going like for $40 the year previous, and the reason why is it's your quarterback play, and now we're looking at Geno Smith, and who even knows? They might be Drew Lock at some point, and we saw what he did with the Denver wide receivers. Not much, so it's really hard to even think like there's a positive outcome from having DK Metcalf on your team.
Yeah. No, agreed. And then I think the biggest one that stands out to me is CD going for $50. I know Jaden really wanted him, but it's just you're drafting it. If you're drafting a player or like a wide receiver for $50, like you're thinking that they're going to be the number one wide receiver. I mean,
Yeah,
I know a couple, like I think it was Mount Hood House that Cade and I got into a bidding war over Julio Jones, and it was kind of the same thing. Both wanted him, but then finally just backed down. Cade drafted him for $52, and Julio had one of his worst years that year.
mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's just like you really have to bank on that. I mean, I love CD. I think he's going to be amazing this year. Year 3, that's like their wide receiver breakout year. You know, Amari left, Michael Gallup's coming back from the ACL injury, and there's not a lot of proven talent behind him. But in a way, too, which I don't really want to think about it because I hope he teaches, but in a way, it's kind of like defenses are gonna focus like all their attention onto CD out there. So it's just gonna be curious to how it plays out. I think he's still gonna be really good, but for $50, when you're running, you know, it's like you're running Rashad Penny out there as your running back 1 right now. I mean, he's got David Montgomery, but it's like, again, you know, and you're like looking at him like, ah, man, it's like, could you have possibly gone like a more solid running back at that point instead
Well, I
of?
think I think we look at this, right, you know, and Jaden has good teams every year, but it's really you're just banking off your wide receiver core and your running backs, right? We'll just see will figure itself out throughout as the season goes. And yeah, I don't really know. Like, is CD the same as what he had last year with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson? Like, I don't think so. I think like the Cowboys, they pass it a decent amount, but CD is going to try to double teams. But then also at the same time, he had a lot of drops too. So, you know, you're not CD and Jamar Chase. Like, if we look at it and we didn't have keepers, the people that are going over $50 a wide receiver, you're probably looking at Cooper Kupp. You're probably looking at Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. And I think the CDs and all those of the world, right? Like, I think around the $45 range, that's good. I think, that's if you're in a bidding war, but the 50, I get it. He was probably one of the last wide receivers of that caliber up there. So you just got to snag him up. It's kind of like what I did with Austin Eckler. So maybe went into it thinking I'm going to have the dynamic duo of wide receivers, and that was his game plan going in. So he probably he felt like he had to, like, this is my game plan. And if I miss out on this game plan, then, maybe I don't have a contingency plan for that. So I
Yeah,
think that might have been what it was.
no, it's true. I mean, hey, Jaden's found success with that recipe before, and he's also got, I mean, again, he's stacked with the wide receivers, Amon-Ra, CD, and Justin Jefferson, just the blueprint that he's used before, and obviously he's done well with it. The last thing I'll say about CD, though, is he was dealing with a foot injury in the preseason. They said it's not serious, but I mean, it's just something that you got to think about, too. It's like, seeing those players with the foot injuries, and that shit nags them throughout the season. And then lastly, for me, it was Calvin. I mean, where to pick apart Calvin's team, there's a couple places, but it's like, yeah, Zeke is good, but why are you getting Tony Pollard at the same time too? I mean, I guess maybe the handcuff aspect of it, but he has like no money to work with. And so I don't know, it's like if you're so confident that Zeke and Pollard, duo there, like right now he's got Melvin Gordon in there right now. It's like, why not just take that money that you spent on Gordon and Pollard and get a solid running back? Like,
Yeah.
I just don't, I was kicking myself for getting 2 players on the same team in McCaffrey and DJ Moore. It's a little different, right? It's a wide receiver and a running back. It's still not ideal on a, Panthers team, but you're going to get 2 running backs from the same team and roll them out there. I mean, it's just so few and far between that a team can produce 2 productive running backs and be able to start them week in and week out. And if you don't
each year the Cowboys have ran the ball less and less. So,
that line is so shitty right now.
Yeah, if you think about the teams that I can really think of that produce 2 fantasy relevant running backs. One, the Broncos, they had Melvin Gordon and they had Javonte Williams, but you also had Drew Lock as your quarterback. So what are you going to do, right? You're not going to pass the ball 45 plus times a game. And then secondly, on top of that is just like, the Browns, right? With Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, they run the ball a shit ton. And a lot of times they were ahead of other teams. So, right, they had the luxury of running the ball over and over again.
Yeah.
So I guess it just depends. Like, if you expect Tony Pollard to be like one of the top running backs in targets throughout the year, which he wasn't last year, I guess we can see if that happens. But it's really hard because Kareem Hunt is always near the top and wide and running back targets. So that one makes sense to me. Tony Pollard, I think they like his running ability, but the problem is that Zeke's rush attempts went down as these other players have came out like the Dalton Schultz who are getting like 8 targets a game, things like that. So is there going to be enough of an ability to feed both those guys in both ways to actually make them fantasy relevant week in and week out? Because if not, you're playing the Melvin Gordon, Tony Pollard train of being like, well, which one do I start this week? Which one do I start that week?
Yeah,
It's kind of hard to think that you're gonna choose the right one every single week.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like why put yourself in that position? But Calvin knows best, so we leave that to him to figure out this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, so yeah, thoughts on the draft. It was interesting. Solid draft as per usual, but let's now hop into the matchups for this week. So NFL season kicking off tonight, finally in the full swing of things. And it is I just gotta say, it's like so nice to be able to pull up Sleeper again and see us having matchups, the teams loaded in there, checking out the waivers and everything. I mean, I've caught myself on my phone, like,
yeah,
just going through so much information. Like, I don't know, like, I get more addicted to the fantasy apps than my social media. So,
yeah. I think I like seeing the nicknames and everything like that too. Just just coming out like I don't know. Like it makes me laugh when I look at them and stuff like that because a lot of them resonate from like when we were at the draft weekend, and some of the things. So I'm like, oh yeah, I remember why that person has been named that.
Hell yeah, brother!
Ball blaster, Justin Tucker.
Let's start with the matchups, and I'll start with this one, kind of go through it. Let's start with Clean Machine or Saquon Sailing. So we got Cleaner versus Brian. And right now, Cleaner's got the edge on him, 98.72 points to 94.21. Cleaner's favor. So pretty interesting matchup. I mean, you're looking at it, you got Patty Mahomes, Trey Lance, Aaron Jones versus Saquon, Josh Jacobs versus Dameon Pierce, Keenan Allen versus Tyreek, Cooper and Davis. We don't need to read through all of them, but just kind of looking at it. Oh man. I feel like the George Kittle injury really throws Cleaner off here.
Yeah, he's probably gonna throw that Hunter Henry in there.
Yeah, he's got to.
I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, I think I'm still got to take Cleaner though. Just a slight edge over Brian. I mean, it's a close matchup, but
It's not like an overwhelming favorite when it comes to matchups of the teams either. Like each one of them has pretty similar greens and reds and oranges.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, Cleaner has a little more favorable matchups, and especially some of his most important positions, like that Kansas City versus Arizona game. I mean, I feel like that's gonna be a shootout, and so obviously that works in Cleaner's favor there. It's just, I want to see what Dameon Pierce is really going to do. There's a lot of hype around him, but he's playing against the Colts D, which is supposed to be pretty solid. I mean, you got Tyreek, which obviously Tyreek's good, but he's going up against New England, and Bill Belichick is scheming up how to shut him down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I like Cleaner's team just a little bit more. I like the Aaron Jones matchup. I like the Patty Mahomes. I like the Keenan Allen one. It's just he's got more matchups I feel like benefit his players to be able to go out there, like these shootouts, to be able to go out there and put up some good numbers. Where Brian's team, it's good, but the matchups just don't really seem to like favor him all that much. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go Clean Machine. Gets his first victory in the league this week.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of. I think we'll figure out a lot about Scheimer's team after the first week because there's Trey Lance, right? is Saquon going to be Saquon? How's Tyreek going to fare with that Tua? Is Gabriel Davis going to be what he is and what
Yeah.
he's supposed to be, right? What they say he's going to be. And then Marquise Brown, like, is he going to just take over that Hopkins role and just be like that slinger that just, 100 plus yards, touchdown a game, and he has the ability to, but we'll just find a lot about Ryan's team after the first week. So it's kind of hard to go off that.
It's too early right now to be able to gauge Brian's team. He's got, in theory, good players. It's just what are they actually going to do? So
yeah, exactly. Well, I say we'll go with this. So we split them up equally here, but the one I'll go off of is going to be Nut and COD. So we got the Mooney Tunes versus Seabiscuit. This one, you're going to get one person that had like the least amount of money, and then COD who was right around there the $200 range. So we're looking to see, how Nut did his bargain bidding and see if that makes sense. And just kind of going off the matchups and everything like that. I won't read every one of them down, but if I look at like the schedule, that's going to favor Cody. And then there's just a lot of things that favor Cody in this, like the Murray, the running back core, um, his flex, Nick Chubb versus Olave. Like, we're obviously going to take like the number one running back on that's been doing it for years on end. So
right.
in this matchup, it's kind of like Nut said. We'll see. It's same thing with Shimer. This one, Nut is just banking on a lot of people that might break out. Who knows? We'll see. The AJ Dillon for $32 was like, something that nobody else was thinking of, and see if that actually ends up being, maybe this guy gets like 4 goal line carries in the first week and scores a couple tutties, But we all know Aaron Jones. He always has those 4 touchdown games, and he somehow finds the end zone.
Yeah.
So I give this one to COD in this. Obviously, the projections are very much in favor of COD. It's 106.94 to 91.87. But it's another thing, right? We know what COD's team is. There's a lot of players on here that we already know that they're star caliber. We know what to expect from them. While we look at Nuts team, and it's there's a couple on here where you're like, is this the man? Is this the dude on that team that's actually going to produce high numbers and make Nuts team fantasy relevant, or are they just going to be kind of like, So I go with COD in this one, and it's a pretty big favorite with it, and so maybe Nut pulls it out. Who knows? We'll see on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think again, Nuts just got a lot of question marks at some of his positions, some of his players there, and the schedule definitely favors COD more with more proven talent. And I'm looking at Nuts team, and it's kind of funny because I feel like he has a lot of my players from last year on there, like Captain Kirk and AJ Dillon, Mooney. So I wish the best for you, Nut. I mean, I tried my best to hold out with them as long as I could last year, and didn't quite work out, obviously. But
Yeah, for sure.
COD has his stable of running backs, and you got the solid QB. I think the wide receivers are actually pretty much the same, or comparable for both teams, and even the tight ends. I'm going to take Pitts over Waller, but it's not like too far off. It's just that flex spot really gives it to COD.
It's like, does Nuts wide receivers make up enough to cover like the spread with like the QB versus, and then also like the running back situation?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
It's always tough when you have like those players you're not really sure how they're going to pan out. Like obviously you're hoping they break out, but it's such a like waiting game. You have to have serious patience sometimes, and man, it's just like I don't know. It drove me nuts. I've done this a couple of years where I've built a team where I have had to like wait for them to really answer those questions, and obviously if it works out, cool, great, good job. But if it doesn't, you're like, shit, I just spent all this time waiting on him and didn't do anything.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Agreed. So who do you got next for matchups?
Yeah, next one I have the Batman versus DeAndre's Dealden. So
yeah.
Sweet Baby J versus Trone. You got 98.78 points for the Batman, 103.15 for Trone. quick glance, the schedule is pretty similar for both sides. Mm,
I think this might be Antonio Gibson's only good week.
yeah, oh man, Gibson makes me nervous. I mean, they were just talking about having him on special teams not too
Well,
long
you're
ago.
not telling me, dude. The guy fumbles in preseason. He fumbles during practice. He fumbles in games. Like the man just, can't hold on to the ball. So his luck kind of came to fruition when old Brian Robinson was getting mugged.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, if it wasn't for that Brian Robinson thing, I mean, I was already off Antonio, but shit, I feel like everybody would have been. Honestly, I think I'm gonna have to go with Jaden on this one. I'm just not, I don't like the Rashad Penny, um, slot there, but just looking at it, it's like we got Jalen Hurts versus Detroit, and it's really just those wide receivers again: Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. Well, Justin Jefferson's against Green Bay, CeeDee versus Tampa Bay, and then Amon-Ra versus Philadelphia. I mean, the Tampa Bay one in Philadelphia could be a little bit tough, but I feel like I don't know. I just have a feeling that those wide receivers are gonna carry Jaden to a victory this week.
Yeah, I could see that happening for sure. I think Jalen Hurts will have a good game against Detroit too.
Just DeAndre Swift versus Philly and Dingletary versus the Rams. I mean, those are pretty tough. And so, kind of, if Tron had better matchups with those players, I would be taking them. But just because of that, I think Jaden's wide receivers are definitely a couple tiers above what Pate's got going on right now.
Well,
Not
hey,
to mention,
Jaden's team got chose as the best team in the league
true,
by the league, so we'll see what happens with that.
and not to mention Tron's got 2 commanders running out this week. So,
Yeah, that's tough.
I hate to see that. So yeah, I'm going to go Jaden.
All right. Yeah,
Batman.
this one, it could be a good one. This could be a good one, and we'll see. Maybe we're giving Trone shit in the wrong places. Maybe Antonio Gibson is still the guy, and maybe, Dingletary does something tonight. It's going to be a pretty good game, so maybe he pulls out a little bit more than his projection is speaking right now.
Yeah, I think it'll be
But
tight.
yeah,
Slight
no, for
edge
sure.
Batman.
Yeah, maybe he'll be carried by the ball blaster. God, I love that name. Second one that I got going on is Cal versus Bijan's here. So Brady's beat Boopers and Herbert, Taylor, and Cup, which Bijan's team kind of just speaks for itself because literally he just named it after the 3 most relevant players on his team. This one, I took a look at it and it's just overwhelmingly favoriting Bijan's. Like even the matchups are, and then on top of that, it's like QB wise, the only thing that I think here that might benefit Cal is I think Tom Brady historically has great week 1 numbers. So and he's going against Dallas, and Dallas, even though they got a lot of interceptions, Tom Brady doesn't throw a lot, but they also allowed a stupid amount of yards and points to wide receivers last year. So I think that's the only one I think he has obviously a leg up on, and it's not a big leg because it's Justin Herbert. So I give this one to Bijan's across the board. There's not a lot to like about Cal's team just yet. Maybe he has the answers. Maybe Christian Kirk is a wide receiver 2 with, maybe wide receiver 1 aspirations. Don't know yet. And then I think he's going to have a big time decision with, am I going to start Michael Thomas or that Chris Godwin was a full participant in practice. So do you roll out Chris Godwin? Then you get the double stack there with Tom Brady and Chris Godwin, but still, I'm liking Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, and those guys are just gonna eat. They're gonna feast. They have good matchups too. So, I'm going with Bijan's on this one. It's kind of a favorite, and the projections kind of say it too. Bijan's projected to outscore him by 14 points. So I'm taking the little man on this.
Yeah, no, it's hard to argue against Bijan's team. To Nuts probably last night or yesterday or 2 days ago. I mean, with the draft grades. I mean, Bijan's put together a pretty good squad. I mean, you have Jonathan Taylor, #1 overall running back, and then I think Cooper was #1, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's hard to go against that. I'd have to take him, and he's got a lot of good matchups this week too. Well, has some pretty tough matchups, so
Exactly.
I don't know. Go Bijons. Get it started right this season. First game of the
Hell yeah,
year.
brother.
Hell yeah, brother. I want Cal in that Sacco, so I'm going to send
All
them
right. Well,
all
that one.
down.
Yeah, not much to speak on to that one. I think B. Johns. I think we both favored that one. All right. So
Bijan's
the next one, obviously,
Bijan's
matchup includes me.
Bijan's gonna grow another inch though, instead of going down.
Oh no, he either just stays even or goes down. It's no increasing.
Oh, dude, if I have to hear them talk about their match, I'm so glad this matchup is just getting taken care of right now. Just the amount of conversation that was around their matchup. I mean, they went on forever.
It did.
Yeah, so we'll go with you next, bud. We got Red Redmond versus Shoeless Joe Jackson. I love that name. It's so good. So obviously yourself with 110.26 points, and then we got Guru with 100.97 points. You both have pretty tough matchups this week. Gobby with a little bit more the green. Yeah, I like Gobby's team a lot, actually. I thought he drafted very well. So it's hard for me to
For sure.
go against it, but I'm about to give you my vote, Red. I
Hell
think
yeah, brother.
and honestly, I just don't, I don't like any of you guys' matchups particularly well. I mean, I like Gobby's AJ Brown against Detroit. I'm just not a big Thielen fan anymore. I'm not feeling it. Literally, I feel like he's just older, and you got Justin Jefferson out there, and they got some other young guns coming up. I'm not saying he's going to be completely irrelevant, but and then if you just look at the eyeball test, it's like, yeah, you just honestly have some of the better players. I'm looking at Eckler against Las Vegas. I'm looking at Stephon Diggs tonight. T. Higgy, and it's just hard. Yeah, hard to pick against that. I think this will be closer than what the projection says, because right now you're up by about 10 points, but so I think it'll be closer. I just got to give you the slight edge, though. I think your running backs and your wide receivers are
Yeah, I do like Gobby's team.
because I feel like your guys' QBs, Russell versus Seattle, and that's gonna be good. And then Lamar versus New York. I mean, the Jets, that might be tough for you, but I still feel like it kind of balances out. But when I'm looking at your guys' premium positions there, I mean, I'm definitely taking T. Higgy over Thielen at this point. I'm taking Stephon over AJ Brown, James Conner over Travis Etienne, which again is one of those players who you're just not really sure how they're gonna do. Like, I like the player, but I need to see it happen on the field first before I start juicing about him. And then
Yeah.
you got Sleepy Joe Mixon over there. I know we talked him up. I talked him up last year, and everybody shit on him. Played well,
Yeah,
playing against
for
Pittsburgh
sure.
Bees. So, and I think that Chargers Raiders game is gonna be a shootout. So you got Eckler in there, and I think you're just gonna be able to reap those benefits.
No, for sure. I think it should be a good one, and I think that's one of the better games this week because I like Dobby's team, and I obviously like my own team, but I think Dobby did really well with what he had. So we'll
Yeah,
see. Maybe Lamar Jackson goes off for like 4 rushing touchdowns or something like that, and then I just cry myself to sleep.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm still haunted by Lamar's multi-touchdown performances from the past. And it is the
Yeah.
Jets. The Jets are boo-boo.
Yeah, so if we can, so now I go to, you versus Jesse here. So we got Hell Yeah Brother versus Allentown.
Oh yeah,
Hell yeah, brother. Um, I give a slight edge. I don't really give a slight edge, but I do give the edge to you when it comes to if you look at matchups. You have some pretty favorable matchups this week. Um, I think the one thing that Jesse has in his favor of this is going to be his obviously his tight end, his QB, and then really if you want to think about it, like his kicker. But besides that, like the running back core of McCaffrey and Fournette and Chase Edmonds, I think that's really solid with a lot of upside there. And then Jamar Chase and Michael Pittman, like I'm gonna choose that all day over Jalen Waddle and Alan Lazard. And then obviously there's Cortland Sutton there, which I like Cortland Sutton.
Lizard.
Yeah. So I give it to you in this one, and the projection is obviously stated as well. It's 108 to 94. Who knows? Maybe Josh Allen, he's going to have to do a lot tonight. So I wouldn't be surprised if he outscores his projection, but I still think that your team is just going to have a slight edge when it comes down to it based off the matchups. And then it's hard because maybe Chase Edmonds is like what we expect him to be, which is going to be like super good, pass it to him out of the backfield. He's going to have more goal line touches than he barely even had a goal line touch in Arizona.
Yeah.
So, I give this one to you, and it's hard to vote against, the reigning champ and everything. There's some things about Jesse's team that I'm just like not too sure about, like Alan Lazard and Jalen Waddle and then the James Robinson. It's just really tough. Like I think they'll be decent players, but are they going to be like your starters week in and week out? I don't think so. So this is one of those games where maybe Jesse doesn't really perform as well as he's hoping to, and then maybe down the road a week or two or something like that, they start coming into their own and they might be producing a little bit more than this week.
Yeah, I think I love the irony that Jesse has to root for Josh Allen to teach tonight against his beloved Rams.
Yeah, it's tough.
It is tough. But yeah, I mean, I definitely the Jalen Waddle, Lazard, James Robinson, kind of like you said, it's just tough. I mean, you just don't really know how they're gonna pan out. Lazard's coming off an injury. And James Robinson, I mean, had a pretty significant injury last year. So what's he going to be like, coming back this year? And it's also the Jags still. But I'm going to do it for Pat Freiermuth.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, the last matchup, though, this is the one it's the juiciest. It's the closest.
Yeah.
We got we got Gary Crapbag versus old Derek's Cart.
Which I'm still trying to figure out his name, like Derek's Cart.
I don't.
I asked
him. He's like, much.
He asked me last night. He's like, "What do you think of my team name?" I'm like, "I don't know what it means." He's like, "His cart full of players." I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, when you put it that way, but I don't think anybody's gonna get that just from reading it." God. But yeah, I think what we'll do each week that we do our episodes when we're going through the matchups is the closest matchup that we find the closest will be the one that we'll talk about mainly together and make our picks on it for both of us. So
let's go down the list here, okay? So you start off first. So I'll ask you first, and then you ask me second. So let's do it this way: Matthew Stafford or Dak Prescott.
Well, I got to go with my boy Dak.
Yeah, dude, but Dak's wearing the wrong shoes at practice, man. It hurt his ankle.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I'm like, dude, if it's the most bizarre, stupid things happen to the Cowboys, I swear to God.
What are these shoes?
I don't know, man. It's like literally, you can't even get the damn shoes right. Every single year, man. Every single year. If it's not drama, it's a weird injury or something happening. But regardless, here's my reasoning behind picking Dak over Stafford. I like the hand cannon in Stafford. The only thing that makes me nervous about this matchup is the blue ball is solid, and he also has had that lingering elbow injury. So I'm just really curious to see how he's going to go out there and perform. I think he'll play good, but and Dak is going against Tampa Bay, and they're also obviously a good defense as well. The difference on it is I don't like Dak's injury is not like serious or anything, and I think that Tom is going to go out there and put a lot of pressure, and Dak's going to have to keep up. He's going to have to keep pace.
Oh yeah,
I'm not,
they got to score.
I don't know if the Cowboys are going to win that game, but for fantasy purposes, if you're just looking at the individual player, I think it's be, they're equivalent shootouts, but I think that they're gonna like Dak. The Cowboys are gonna have to rely on Dak more, and I think they're gonna have to throw the ball a shit ton. It's gonna be like kind of the same thing that happened. I don't know if it was last year or the year before they played Tampa Bay to open up the season, but Dak threw the ball like 45 times or something like that, and I just kind of see the same thing happening again. Plus,
yeah,
Dak can rush the ball too. I know his ankle's a little jacked up, but I think he's gonna still run the ball.
yeah, okay, all right. So me next, Alvin Kamara or Derrick Henry. I like Kamara in this one.
Yeah,
I like Kamara. I think that his projection is lower than what we're going to expect from this year, and I think the reason why is because last year was pretty lackluster for a Kamara season. But now I think they got Jameis in there, and I think they have more weapons. I think he's gonna produce a little bit more. Like the man's been a touchdown machine. Like nobody scored more touchdowns than Alvin Kamara in the last like 6 years. So I think it's Atlanta. He's just gonna feast. So Derrick Henry is really good, and obviously we love Derrick Henry. However, I think Kamara's matchup's better, and I think like I said, I just think Kamara is a little bit undervalued this year than the previous years, probably because of external things, right? Like outside of football, and then also having last year playing with Taysom Hill and yeah, literally playing with like Taysom Hill and I can't remember who else they had out there too. I think like Trevor Simeon played or something like that too. Just not a lot of good players. So I like Kamara over Derrick Henry in that one.
well, yeah, I think too. Michael Thomas is back as well, so I
Yeah.
feel like there was a lot of focus on Kamara, like stopping Kamara last year,
Mm-hmm.
and he's still fucking top, but and then you get some weapons out there, it's gonna take a little pressure off. But I agree.
All
Better
right. So 1-1. All right, now let's go Amir Abdullah or Miles Sanders.
I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this one. Amir Abdullah is like I don't know if he's third string. I guess second string maybe. I don't know. I don't care. Amir Abdullah is not going to do shit. And
Yeah.
the Chargers have a good defense. So I mean, they got Khalil Mack. I know J.C. Jackson's not playing, but like they still have solid. It's still a solid defense. And
Mhm. All
again,
right. So
Ringer. I'm taking Miles Sanders against Detroit.
yeah.
Like yeah. I mean yeah.
All right. So it's 2-1 Diz here. So now we go down Debo Samuel versus Devontae Adams. Uh, it's a tough one, and I want to give the edge. I want to give the edge to Debo on this one though, just because it's Debo Samuel. You never know. Like the guy could have a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown this week, and against Chicago, like I think they're just gonna feast. Like they're just gonna go out there and feast. And Devontae Adams going up against a harder defense. You got the Chargers defense, obviously no J.C. Jackson, but even without J.C. Jackson there last year, like you have Derwin James out there. They have really athletic linebackers. I like Debo Samuel in that because he does everything. Devontae, he'll get his, but it's Debo versus the Bears. Like he's gonna go off. Like he's gonna kill it, and he has no injury designation next to his name now. So I feel like he's just good to go.
Green lights
So
go.
yeah. So it's 2-2.
Yeah.
Now let's go, Mike.
I
You
was
want to
just
speak
gonna
on it
say,
a little bit, or
oh, just one comment. It just kind of feels like one of those games where Debo's gonna have like one of those crazy like 80-yard rushing touchdown. I don't know. I just feel like something like wild's gonna happen. Where
no, for sure.
Devontae, it's gonna be more of like he's still really good, but I don't want to say it like this, but kind of like the same old. Like we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well,
But
let's
you
go,
two.
Mike Evans or DK Metcalf.
Well, I mean, considering I shit on DK earlier,
Yeah.
Like you're going against Denver too. Like Denver's secondary is no joke. Like Patrick Surtain,
Hmm.
um, it's like a hog. So again, their quarterback play is just so bad. Like the Seahawks are going to be probably the worst team in the league this year. Just I just don't see how they pull it together. So I'm taking Tom with Mike Evans against Dallas.
For
Like,
sure. So it's 3-2, 3-2 Gary, but also just for not from when I listened to Podley last night, it's Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons is the safety for the Broncos. That's super good. So
oh yeah,
he was
yeah,
trying to remember the name. And yeah, their secondary, like Denver's defense will be super good this year, I think.
yeah.
And then now we got Irv Smith through David and Njoku here. This one's kind of, I'm just gonna go with the more proven person, which, you know, I want to say is gonna be Irv Smith. Like he has a lot of hype around him. David Njoku is just so like there should be a saying for David Njoku. Like if a tight end went off for one game for like 100 yards and a touchdown, and then the next 5 games they just had like under 5 fantasy points, it should be called like just doing the Njoku because that's David Njoku. Like he's so like athletic and so good, but he's just so inconsistent. And he's got Jacoby Brissett throwing the football. I just like Irv Smith. He's going to be playing with Captain Kirk, baby, and I think
Kirk's fair shit.
Captain Kirk, like I saw like a stat on him, like his QBR over the last couple of seasons is 100.9 compared to Tom Brady, who's 100.6. So like Captain Kirk is efficient, and I think Irv Smith is just as athletic as David Njoku, and I just trust that more than Jacoby Brissett throwing the football. So I'm gonna go with Irv Smith over David Njoku.
I actually like it. Njoku. It's just it's the quarterback play again. And like when Deshaun gets back, I feel like he'll teach. But yeah, I'd have to agree. I'm just looking at
Well,
the
yeah, and it's against the Panthers too, and they, who's playing against tight ends? It's going to be your safeties, and they got J.C. Horn on there. Like, dude's like a baller. So, I think they got a lot of young people on defense, and their linebacking core is really good too. So, all right, so we got 4-2 going right now with Gare in the lead. All right, Allen Robinson or Devontae Smith?
mm, actually like I like I mean I'm gonna have to take Allen Robinson. It's gonna be a shootout tonight, and I don't think Cooper Cup's gonna get all the targets. Like Allen Robinson's still a good fucking player. It's not like he's bad. He's just been playing with really bad teams over the last couple years. I think it's like we all know he's a good player. It's just I feel like people kind of like forget about that a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
undervalue him because we haven't got to see him live up to his fullest potential for the last couple of years because it was awful,
Yeah,
terrible. But I like Devontae Smith as well. It's just they're playing against Detroit, and I feel like if the Eagles get up big on Detroit, you're not gonna have to throw the ball all so much.
no,
So
for sure.
I'd rather take the shootout. I got to go Allen Robinson, and he's a more proven commodity. So
For sure. So 5-2 Thug. So next one's kickers, Dustin Hopkins, Young Wei Koo. I like Dustin Hopkins in this one. I have him in another league. And the reason why is I think that they're gonna score a shit ton of points. Like Dustin Hopkins is gonna have a lot of opportunities. And the Raiders defense isn't like a joke, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of field goals in that game too from both sides. But I still think there's gonna be a lot of points scored. While if I look at New Orleans versus Atlanta, even though Atlanta I don't think is as shitty as a team, I think they're going to put up points. But I'm going to take the person that's going to be on the team that's going to be in the red zone more, which is going to be the Chargers. So I take Dustin Hopkins on that. And then it's Saints D that's going against Atlanta versus the Broncos D that's going against Seattle. Who do you got on that?
I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer too. Like I like both defenses, but I'm gonna go with Cody's wet dream, the Broncos.
Hell yeah, brother.
It's against Seattle, man. Again, Seattle shit. Like they're gonna get doo-dooed on, and I mean Atlanta's at least like competent. I just there's no way that Seattle's gonna do
Yeah,
anything.
I think the difference here is that Atlanta is probably going to score some points, while Seattle there could be possibly like even if there's going to be like probably maybe one touchdown from Seattle, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. I feel like they're gonna be giving more touchdowns through
There's
pick
not gonna be
six.
a lot of yards either, so it's your defense is gonna stay up there projection wise, points wise, because you're not gonna be giving up like 350 to 400 yards to Seattle because Geno Smith can literally only throw it 190 yards a game. So
Well, I just feel like the Broncos defense is gonna put up more touchdowns than the Seattle's offense.
yeah, so it looks like we got Gary, old crap bag, taking it 6-3 on this one. So I guess that ends the matchups for us.
Oh crap bag.
Oh, old crap bag, and I like seeing that Paul Rudd on there. That's what I really like. Love me some Paul
Is
Rudd.
that Calvin?
Yeah. Well, I say at this point, yeah, we talked about the draft. We talked about how we had a great time. We talked about the drafting and how we saw everything play out, what we liked, what we didn't like, and then we talked about matchups. And we'll keep track of our matchups to see who out of both of us has the best predictions week for week. So we'll hold on to that to make sure, and then obviously the one that we both pick on the same one, we'll just see if we even know what we're talking about or not.
Yeah, half the time I feel like I'm just kind of throwing shit out there, but
Yeah, we're just babbling on. It's pretty cool.
yeah, hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, tonight should be a fun game, and it's the
excited.
start of the fantasy season. So
Crazy
if
we're
you're
here
not
again.
excited, then fuck off.
Yeah, get the fuck out of the league, bud. We're done with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Hell no,
Um,
brother.
yeah. Sorry, brother.
Yeah, no, I'm
That's,
excited. Can't believe we're here again. Let's get the juices flowing and excited to see what happens throughout the season.
man, this game tonight is juicy, and I just can't wait for Sunday. Uh, Dion and I will be making an appearance at the compound probably, so we'll probably come over and watch some games with you guys and everything. But it's just this is the start of a this game is like usually the first game of the season is like, this is gonna be a fucking juicer. So
There's a lot of good matchups this week. And again, there was so much movement in the NFL this off season, so I'm like just real excited to see how all these players in different teams, how it's gonna play out, like what everything's gonna look like.
yeah,
And
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
same.
there's a lot of things that are gonna be, like I said, we talked about a lot of people have a lot of players that this week is really going to show like, oh, is Travis Etienne going to be that number one guy?
Yeah,
Is AJ Brown like, is this going to be the team that he succeeds with, right? Like, are these players that we are seeing that we think so highly of? Some of them are just going to, it's going to be the first time that we're going to actually see if they're going to be like that proven commodity on that team.
no, absolutely. Hell yeah,
And then
bro.
the trade, and then the trades will start rolling.
I know I've already been like itching to trade, and I'm like, I just need to like hold off. We just need to get through this first week, and I just want to see how
I
things
know.
play out.
No, for sure.
We'll see if
All right.
CED already starts selling his team off.
Hell yeah, brother. I'm already on the phone with him.
All right, guys. Well, yeah. Appreciate anybody that's watching it. If you're not watching it, well, fuck us then. But
Or fuck you.
yeah. But good luck to everybody except our former champ. It's time to teach a lesson.
And our matchups this week.
Yes. But until next time, my
All right.
boys, we'll see y'all.
We got two episodes down. Only need two more to go to pass the most ever Wilson times in 1 year.
We're doing it.
We can do it.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Later.
Later.